Wondering how to turn your dreams of entrepreneurship into a reality? Take the mystery out of success, clear the fog of failures, and use speaking to create a six-figure business. Learn the success strategies of international speaker and business coach Katya Ravi. Learn business from brave to rave.
Bonjour, 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 bonjour. I am super excited today to come to you with Merry Christmas. It is the time of the year where we are all jolly and happy and with family and enjoying. And one of the things that I thought I would bring with me today is a part of my family. So I invited Steve. Steve is my fiance.
Hello.
And I just told him literally 5 minutes ago that we were going to do this.
4 minutes ago.
4 minutes ago. So he's being a very, very good sport. And I thought then we would kind of have a conversation between the two of us of what was life as entrepreneurs like this past year. So why don't you tell everybody what you do?
Well, I'm an executive coach. My primary focus historically has been on helping technology professionals get better at soft skills so they can use those soft skills to grow their influence, get a bigger budget, get a bigger paycheck, and just feel happier at work and at home. This has been a transition year for me. I guess we'll get into that in just a minute.
No, actually, I think that was a good, go ahead, continue.
Well, as soon as you asked me, why don't you say a little about, or once you said, why don't you say a little bit about what you do? I had to blurt out, I'm an executive coach, and that has taken me an entire year to say.
What would you say before that?
I was a consultant or an executive advisor or a strategic consultant or a strategic advisor. The idea of coach is something I only reluctantly came to understand, feel comfortable with. In my industry, consultants are the norm, and everybody and their brother is a consultant of one thing or another in the technology world. And to describe myself as a coach really sets me apart, and I was not comfortable with that for this whole year. In fact, I think I only put coach on my LinkedIn profile this week.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Yeah,
right?
so it took me 12 months to get comfortable with that.
Why do you think it was a hang-up on that?
Well, I didn't know any coaches. I didn't know any executive coaches personally. I didn't know anyone of my peers who are executives in the technology world who had coaches. We didn't talk about that. It's not a common thing. Mentoring, that's common. Advice is common. Consulting is common. So I used those words quite a lot. But the more I've mentioned that I'm an executive coach, the more I hear stories of how people say, oh, I had an executive coach once, or I have an executive coach now, or my wife says I should have an executive coach. And so I'm getting more comfortable with it, learning how other people are also finding comfort in the idea. It's not too weird. And that's what I was afraid of. I think I was afraid of being different. I had made a career. I've been in technology, working professionally in technology almost 30 years. And consulting is the way I always described what I did. Coaching and mentoring, these are newer words for me, and I think I had to grow into them.
Did I just heard you say then, the word coaching is weird? Did you just call me weird?
I didn't call you weird to your face, dear. But coaching is one of those things like it. There are some flaky people out there who call themselves coaches. I saw
agree.
like this bright pink car driving down with magnetic signs
Oh,
stuck
yes.
on every
Yes.
part of the paint
that
job.
was in Greensboro,
North
yes,
Carolina.
You showed it to me.
Say,
I
I'm a
remember that.
coach. I'll make your life better. Call this number. It's like,
Yes.
oh my goodness.
So I think that's very interesting what you're talking about, because when you use the word mentoring, for me, mentoring is really like people who hire a mentor the mentor doesn't get paid. Like a mentor is more like someone who's going to lead the way, but not so much in the paying.
I separate my mentoring from my consulting work, my coaching, my paid coaching or paid consulting. Mentoring is something I do set aside. I publicize that I set aside 5 hours a week for mentoring my peers or younger people in the industry. I'll give them 15 minutes or 30 minutes. It's free.
But you would agree then it's usually
mentoring is something freely offered. Yeah.
How what would be, I don't know, I think for the listeners it's probably interesting to know what the life of two entrepreneurs, who do almost the same thing but for a different industry, what life is like at home.
Well, most of my time when I'm not working, I'm sitting quietly in the wings of Katya's office, listening to what she says and writing down, oh, I can borrow that. Oh, that's a great one. Oh, I'm going to use that.
I should do that. I should go into your office and, we both have offices, actually pretty adjacent.
Pretty close, but thank goodness it's really soundproofed. I cannot hear you at all.
No, I can't either. So which is good because a lot of our work are on Zoom, and we pride ourselves with privacy and all of that. But what would you say is like the worst thing about working with another coach or living with another coach?
If I talk about any success or challenge at work,
yes,
Katya goes directly into coaching mode.
Yes, I do.
And I can't just have, it's like our roles are reversed. Can you just listen?
Yes. No, it's very true. I'm just becoming conscious of it, and a little bit too late, but that's one of the things on my 2020. Then I was like, I really need to fix that because I don't want to always be on coaching.
One of the great advantages, though, has been to hear how Katya will turn a phrase or hear how one of Katya's coaches might say something, and I'll hear her talk about it. And it will give me an aha moment, give me an insight.
Listen to you now, aha moment and all of that. I love this, What a change in vocabulary, even for as coach,
I was a philosophy major in college, and I loved reading. I was reading existentialists back in those days. That was fashionable. And the aha moment, that existential moment where you stop on the street corner, stop on the street sidewalk, and just realize for a moment that you can see everything differently than you had before. That's a great aha moment, and I have those now with some frequency.
That's awesome. Well, I thought I would share with you guys, the audience, some of my big win this year. Maybe you'll share some of yours. So one of the thing that I'm very excited about, I always, as I tell my client to invest in themselves and hire a coach and hire someone who's going to be able to help you guys into your business and run the business and let you do what you do best, which is your own trade. I, of course, do the same. I invest in myself quite a bit. And I am super excited. Then I'm going to be having a book coming out in 2020. I think I told you that, right? And so I am super excited about that. And I will be a keynote speaker overseas, and that's a big deal for me. It's a big deal because obviously coming from France, there is some roots in Europe where I always feel like I want to, I don't know, maybe like having marks or leaving some empreinte or some print where, I don't know, there is something very, very cerebral around that. I can't pinpoint what it is, but yeah. So those are two huge win for me.
Building a business, it's a lot of dreaming and then putting some elbow grease behind those dreams.
A lot of elbow grease.
I don't think I knew that about business before just the last few years. I always thought business was luck, hard work plus luck. And now I see there's very little luck involved. It's math, science, a dash of art.
That's right.
And no magic and no luck. This year, I set a goal early in the year to do public speaking twice a month, and I was able to hit that goal. In October, far exceeded with nine presentations in 4 cities. But that was a busy.
That was a speaking tour.
That was a speaking tour. Yeah. So setting that goal and achieving it, that was a landmark for me. And learning how to speak better, not to be more articulate. I was reasonably articulate already and reasonably comfortable in front of audiences. I'd spoken many times. I'd delivered over 75 keynote speeches in my career. But I didn't really know what I was doing before. It's only this year, listening to Katya, what you're learning, what you're practicing, what you're teaching, all of that has helped me to understand how to make my presentations more effective, have a stronger call to action, inspire my audiences, and build the presentation to a point where we actually can, together as a group, speaker and audience, make the world a better place. And I was not clear about that formula before, the chemistry. So now I have that. And I think the other big win or insight of the year, besides exceeding my numbers several of the months this year, was one thing that I heard through you, Katya, from one of your coaches, Larry Winget, and he talked about having being really crystal clear about the lens through which you see the world. And I needed to hear that. I needed some filters, something to help me guide my decision making in my business, and to know instantly if this is a good path or bad path to take. I simply apply the test. Is this going to help me achieve? Is this consistent, congruent with the way I see the world? Or is it incongruent? And it's a very simple test now for me. So I can choose that path more quickly. I can make decisions more quickly. And I can grow my business more aligned with a particular goal.
I think this is priceless, what you just said, because, I talk to the audience or the clients about also knowing when to say no. When you are aligned and when you know exactly which way you're going, it's a lot easier to say no to things who are not aligned. And as maybe guys, maybe not so much, but women, we have a hard time saying no sometimes. We want to take every opportunity. And sometimes the opportunity doesn't align with the business or the direction.
Some of the greatest philanthropists, the people who have given more money and time and energy to worthwhile causes in the world, bringing water to dry areas of Africa, feeding the hungry and housing the homeless. These sorts of efforts are done by men and women, I've learned, who are excellent at saying no.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many demands on their time, so many requests for their time, and they have to be expert at saying no. And how do they know what to say no to? Because they set a goal, they have a lens through which they see the world.
That's
And
right.
if something's incongruent with it, they simply say, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Wow. Great point. I actually didn't know that. I just learned
Yeah,
something.
Bill Gates said he said this that the Gates Foundation is one of the
Right.
most impactful foundations ever made, and he says that's the one skill he has honed above all others, his ability to say no,
Wow.
and he's the greatest giver.
I
one of
knew
the
then.
greatest.
I think it was 2 years ago through one of my previous coach, and she had said then saying no and getting on the no train was a result of really knowing your vision and what you want to achieve, and that has been priceless. She had and I give this. I think I actually talked to you guys about that like 2 weeks ago or something like that. Having your word of the year when you have your vision and your goals, and then you can summon it in one word. I always tell people if you have your word, if whatever comes your way, does it align with that word or not? And then from there, it's very easy to say no. Is it really good for the business? Is it going to grow the business? Is it going to grow your brand, who you are about, what you are about? Or is it not going to give you any result and just keep you busy?
I think this lens, this single word of the year. I haven't done that word of the year thing. I've heard you do it last couple of years, and
we should do that after this podcast.
I think I'd like to give that a try. I wonder what my word would be, because it might depend on my mood du jour.
Le mood de-
But I do recognize that I've learned so much this year. I guess I learn things every year, and I'm always aware of my learning and continuous improvement, and some years better than others. But this year, I don't know, it seems to stand apart as a year of learning. And yet people recognize me as a teacher. And I found that to be a little bit of a shock. Just today, I received a note from a student of mine when I was teaching many years ago at a university in Chicago. She was my student, and now she's a credentialed and highly regarded, awarded, prize-winning executive in her field. And she posted on LinkedIn a thank you card to me, a long article just praising what she learned from me and how I was a teacher who made all the difference in her life and led her to put everything together and make sense of it. And then she built this great award-winning career. And I thought to myself, all those years I was teaching, I felt like I was learning more than the students. I was so aware of how much more I had to learn in order to teach. And yet here she was taking a few nuggets, a few aha moments of her own that she had during my class and creating this great career out of it. And I see now that it's my learning must never stop, and my awareness of how much more there is to learn, how much further there is to grow, needs to be part of my worldview. So whatever word I choose for next year, it's probably going to remind me that there's this learning and giving mix in play.
I like that. And it also puts a different perspective on, what we say to others. I think we could, how many years ago was that?
Yeah, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah. And she still remembers. I mean, there's an impact, guys, on what we say to people. And this is kind of the goal of the day. You know, do you wake up in mind with, you know, I'm going to impact my clients. I'm going to impact the world. I'm going to try to do my best to have some prints into this world out there. And I love that. I really do. What else do we want to share? Well, we got engaged this year.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty big.
Yeah, that was pretty big, right?
That was a win.
That was a win, I think, for me.
She said yes.
Yeah, I sure did, yes. Business-wise, I think we both grew so much. We're always on growing mode, though, I feel. Or at least I feel like I am. Always trying to grow and get myself better. And, you know, to go back to what you just said, you know, even for me, like when I coach clients, I hang up the phone and say, hey, what did I do? What I told them to do, you know, like for me, it's a reminder also that I can't slide, because whatever expectation I have on my clients, I want to be able to say, then I've done it, you know, or I am doing it, or, you know, I never want to put myself in a situation where I tell a client to do something and I've actually not done it.
Oh, gosh. The paying lip service like that, being a phony consultant, I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of being that person who gives advice because it sounds like the right thing to do. And it was, I think, another aha moment when I realized that through my career, which has been sometimes very highly successful, highly regarded career, certainly reached the pinnacle of my industry in a number of metrics. I can look back and see that I was, and this is probably the topic of a whole podcast, but I could see that I was doing all the right things, but I was doing them all wrong. Every single thing I did was the right thing by the book, but I was doing them in the wrong order, or without the wrong technique, or with the wrong heart, you know, the wrong sense of purpose. And I was definitely not as authentic and genuine as I could have been. And I also shot myself in the foot, limited my success by not being, by not asking for help and having someone come along and say, every one of your techniques is flawed. Everything you're doing needs to be improved. And so since I would read a lot or read articles and speak publicly, I could say I was continuously learning, continuously improving. But in hindsight, I'm not sure I really made a lot of progress during several years.
Well, you surely did this year.
This year.
At least the past 3 years since, we've been together 3 years, right? Yeah. Well, I think this is it for today. I think that's all we have. Do you have anything else?
It was fun.
That was fun?
Thanks for inviting me.
You're very welcome. And guys, I want to wish you a super Merry Christmas. And I look forward to be here.
And Happy Hanukkah.
And Happy Hanukkah. Thank you. And I look forward to more podcasts. So please subscribe and leave some, how do we call it? Like comment or some review on on either Spotify or on iTunes. This is kind of how it works.
Or wherever you're listening.
And if you feel inclined to share, please take a picture of the podcast and post it on Instagram or on Facebook, and please tag me. And have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and have a happy holidays. Thank you, Steve, for being such a good sport with me tonight.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.